Thorgrim is king once again. The Deeps have added literal depth to the Dwarven gameplay, and it's time to do a masterclass on the Dowie King himself, and he is so much better than he used to be. If you've ever dreamed of making an underground civilization, Thorgrim is the lord for you. He leans right into this Deeps mechanic, and also his start and his basic geography really allows him to focus on being able to build strong wealth in two key locations. I'm going to give you some really clear advice on how to manage the East, manage the West, as well as some army composition advice in 10 simple steps to dominate this campaign with a walkthrough for the first 10 turns afterwards, so you can kick ass like Thorgrim. Let's do it. Tactic number 1, Skarsnik. We're going to wipe him out by turn 6. Now this is one of the things I hear the most about Thorgrim is they have trouble with Skarsnik. I can promise you this walkthrough will work for you every single time, but please, even if you don't watch the walkthrough, watch these 10 steps, because what you do after it is just as important as before. And that takes us to tip number 2. The strategy simply revolves around getting these two starting territories, Karaz and Mount Gunbad. We can build a gate to the Deeps in each of these, and these will carry our early economy primarily through this tradable building, and this is the one I would always build first. Tradable resources, well, the problem with tradable resources is that you run out of them very quickly early on. So if we can just really bolster the number of tradables, we can make many more alliances. On top of that, we can add multiplier on top of multiplier onto the tariffs and the tradable goods themselves. So getting this building is absolutely key first, and then following that up with another multiplier, more growth, and then of course this building, which gives us a bit of late game room to move, because once we level it up to level 2, this will allow us to put a multiplier on to the main buildings above it. And this is why building them in capitals with really wealthy buildings like Mount Gunbad is so key. Tip number 2, trinkets and growth. These are the two buildings that you shouldn't build in every single province, only the ones where you have a Deeps. Now, for those who are familiar with Warhammer 3, the growth requirements are far less than they were in Warhammer 2. Warhammer 2, you absolutely smash growth in every single province. That is a Warhammer 2 strategy, not a Warhammer 3 strategy. Except, unless in your capital, if you need to rush a certain technology or just need more growth, which is what you require, because the Deeps building itself requires 2 population surplus. So by the time you hit tier 3, you're going, do I want to upgrade to tier 3, or would I like to build a Deeps here? And in this case, for both of these major hubs of Mount Gunbad and Karaz, we are going to prioritize growth and bring that up to at least tier 1 or tier 2. Don't worry about tier 3, it's just overkill. You also get some growth modifiers by the Deeps buildings as well, but also the reduction to construction cost is very, very key. One of the most overlooked benefits you can get in TotalWar Warhammer 3 is reduction to construction. Like, basically all of your expenses are military or building things. If you can reduce either of those, you are going to go very far. Also, these buildings are incredibly expensive. The Deeps buildings are not cheap at all. They will send you bankrupt very, very quickly. I mean, look, 5,000, even with the multipliers, that's 6,000. These are not cheap buildings, but you will gain much efficiency by building the trinket makers, which of course themselves are actually producing gold. So get these in every single province, and in the ones with the Deeps, then build the growth building as well. Tip number 4 is to do Thorgrim's quest battles as soon as possible, but don't just rush them straight away. So you want to do the first 2 in the first 15 turns. Why is that? Because they give you a bulk amount of grudges and will help you hit the Age of Reckoning. If you max out the Age of Reckoning, you get a grudge settler army. Not just units that you can put inside Thorgrim's army or any army, you get an entire additional army. And at turn 15, you'll see you really can use that to close off a front. And of course, you gain that again every single time you hit an Age of Reckoning. So you want to do the first 2 quest battles to make sure you get that first Age of Reckoning. Do another one before the next, and then save the Great Book of Grudges itself for the quest battle afterwards. I did a Thorgrim livestream before to test this all out. The big difference that really slowed my progress was not rushing these quest battles. Grudge settler armies are awesome, they are well worth doing it, so just doing these quest battles is key. Also, it's well worth noting that Thorgrim gets this handy new ability here. Every time you win a battle, you get another 20% campaign movement back. You can actually use this to finish his turn, do a quest battle, and then move just a little bit more to take another settlement, and you can then of course replenish inside the settlement. Handy news. Maximising the Age of Reckoning also will increase the number of grudge settler units in your recruitment pool, so it will bolster your existing armies, give you some reserves. Tip number 5, and possibly most important, what I want you to get out of this is master your movement. The habits I want you to create are these. First of all, where possible, scout. Now we've already owned all this territory, so it's a bad example, but you've heard it before here, the 50% rule. See the movement down the bottom there? We want to move less than 50%, right? If you see there's a bad enemy, you can at least run them back with their remaining movement. If you see it safe. Now this is dangerous terrain here, so we can reduce taking some attrition by moving into a camp stance, but let's just pretend that's not here, just for this example, right? What you do is you move up and go, well, that's 2 turns to get there, but if I only move with 25% left to go, I can adopt ambush stance. Now, could I reach that in a single turn next turn? Well, yes, I could. Okay, so if it's going to take you 2 turns to get somewhere, see if you can hop in ambush stance first. If it's going to take 2 turns anyway, you may as well move up in ambush stance the first turn and then just move normal the second turn, because you'll need to attack. But that's so valuable. Ambush stance is incredibly powerful because the enemy can't see you unless they detect you. So it means you're either safe anyway, but if they don't see you first, they could move an army in reach of you. If they can see you, they're not stupid. They're not going to let themselves get attacked by you, but if they never saw you in the first place, very key, particularly Skaven armies. Individually, not very strong, but they rely on being collective. If you can get the jump on them, very powerful. And of course, master the underway stance. Just understand you could be intercepted by another nearby army, and any army that's defeated in the underway is completely wiped out. There's no escape. But first, let's just talk about defending ambushes. You can increase your ambush defense by having characters in your army. Both the Thane and the Runesmith have a means of reducing your risk of being ambushed. Plus also, Skarsnik's defeat trait will give him plus 20% more ambush defense. So there's plenty of ways to make yourself defensible. Now the next point is going to be talking about the eastern defenses. Now I would not expand any further than this territory here. We have the Tower of Gorgoth. This is a capital. If you've seen my channel before, you know I'm really big on capitals. They provide an excellent edge to your territory because they'll require siege equipment, and that'll slow them by 1 turn. You have towers, you have really walls, you have all these things in your corner to be able to take on an army that is far greater in size. For example, we have Tretch's last settlement here. I beat him all the way back to that 1 settlement and I pieced out. Now why is that? Well, I haven't discovered Grimgor, and if I did take that, I'd be in line of sight of Grimgor. An army that hasn't discovered you can't declare war on you. This is very important. I've got enough enemies as it is. I don't need more. I don't need to advertise that I'm an overpowered Dwarf King just yet. They'll find out soon enough, but not yet. So what we do is we go as far as we need to and then peace out with him. Yes, he's Skaven, he betrayed me, but it bought me time. And more importantly, we can defeat many armies with just one, okay? There's a bit of a plague going on here, bit of a sad time in this dwarf hold, but with a single lord and the right combination of abilities, we can do incredible things. At the Forge, we've built the Scepter of Stone. This is an incredible bombardment ability which just levels everything. Use your Forge abilities on a single lord, and you don't need many support units just to bash them back. You'll have the towers and the garrison in your corner, so just choose the edges of your territories wisely, but I would not go any further than that. Befriend Imrik. I've taken these 2 territories here, but I wouldn't take those initially. You'll find that first you'll enter around here, and I would take Crookback Mountain. Again, that provides you another capital, and I actually do take Mount Greyhag. This is a settlement where I would build a garrison. This builds walls and towers, so when you do get attacked by the Chaos Dwarves, you'll at least do some damage, and hopefully this capital here is enough to slow them. What you don't want is for any units to come under here, underway, and then attack your precious main settlement here of Mount Gunbad. Even these small minor territories are providing growth and valuable gold and construction reduction. If you need to, throw a bit of gold at Imrik to keep him alive and keep him strong, and hopefully he stays busy with Drazoath and they're not paying too much attention to you. We've been quite lucky this time. They've been at it and they haven't paid much attention to me. But what about the Western Front? Now, originally when you start the campaign, you have an excellent edge of your territory right here. Karazukurak, capital city, amazing defenses, really strong. This is a great entryway and everyone's going to have a very hard time getting past it. Now, how do we make ourselves not get completely overwhelmed? This is a hugely risky front here. Wurzag has a really high chance of beating down and confederating the starting greenskin hordes around here, and you can have a massive enemy very, very early on. That happened last campaign. This campaign it didn't, but how can we avoid this? I've got a trick up my sleeve here for you. Defensive alliance with Skrag the Slaughterer. Sounds a bit odd at first, okay? But the ogres are relatively neutral. Skrag's just an arsehole and everyone hates him. He does tend to go up here and attack the Empire. But what can we do to keep him down here but away from us? A defensive alliance. Now I thought defensive alliance might be a bit risky, but it's actually turned out to be quite good. If you can get that before any of the greenskins here have declared war on you, then you are in a great position. First of all, his alliance with you is going to make them absolutely hate Skrag. This provides enemies to his south. He has the Empire to the north, but if he's now attacking the greenskins down here, he's not attacking the Empire. This almost guarantees the Empire is going to be very strong and victorious, meaning they keep Vlad occupied, which means Vlad's not attacking you. So it's like a daisy train. Like, if you haven't seen my channel, I love geopolitics and I love the knock-on effect here, and this is a great example of contorting the geopolitics to suit your own ends. And he's not going to get too powerful here. He's doing really, really well, but every single greenskin that attacks you is then going to have to attack and deal with Skrag the Slaughterer first. You bring this whole area in conflict with each other. If you don't do that, Skrag has way more in common with the greenskins to start with, and they will all dogpile on you, and you have enough to deal with. But how do you get that alliance? Quite easy. What you do is march out and take this settlement off the greenskins, and then gift it back to them. Trade the settlement for a defensive alliance, or if you're not so inclined, just a trade deal and a non-aggression pact. At least get that non-aggression pact, it'll buy you valuable time. As the campaign rages on, you don't need to rush venturing past here, just work your way down, take Black Crag and then Karakay Peaks. If you have fort, and fort, that is a rock solid edge to your empire. You can even just basically camp up here and build up your deeps, and Carrick 8 Peaks immediately starts off with 7 build slots in it. It is incredible. So this should be your third deeps, and boy is it worth the investment. So you don't need to race down here, but you do want to get it sooner than later because it is, again, very, very wealthy and will be strong to your long-term goals. And where should you make the bottom of your empire? Honestly, it's perfectly fine to either go there and there and make Karak Azul. You could just make that your southern edge there and then turtle up. Or if you're a bit more adventurous, go down to Crooked Fang Fort. Basically, you'll be relatively on the offense here to take out Quick Head Taker, but that is where I would try to make my forts and my hard edges to my empire. You do get the chance to confederate legendary lords, and I would not recommend rushing it too much, except for Ungrim Iron Fist. He'll help you unite the northern provinces, and after that I would recommend getting Belagar Ironhammer, and then eventually Thorak Ironbrow. You don't need to rush these. They're not going anywhere, and they'll do pretty well without you. If you're new at the game, don't confederate too much. The only one I'd rush the confederation with is Ungrim, and even then, you can probably leave him alone. If you're new at the game, don't rush confederations at all. This isn't going anywhere. You can go back to it. Also to consider to get campaign victory, you will need to do at least 2 legendary grudges, so they should at least be in the back of your mind. The method I've laid out here will mean you will eliminate Crooked Moon by turn 6, then work your way down to Karak 8 Peaks to establish your 3rd deep. But this leaves Clan Moors. If you knock them out, you will gain another 2 grudge settler slots in every single army. Clan Moors will basically be the southern opponent that they're just going to be a bit annoying because you won't want to venture down too much further, but by design you'll need to wipe them out, so they will force you out of your comfort zone. But just remember, make sure that you invest yourself properly into Karak 8 Peaks and Karak Azul. Be willing to sacrifice these outer territories if you need to in order to preserve these ones here, but if you can get Baal of Sorrow, this will allow you to put another growth building, another trinket maker to fast track the growth of Karak 8 Peaks. And if you can make your way down to Crooked Fang Fort, this is the furthest I would go because it is, of course, once again a capital. Nice walls, nice towers. It's going to hold very, very nicely. You can always check how many settlements they have left by selecting them in the diplomacy screen. Still 9 settlements left with Clan Moors, so here we've gone back to turn 25 where I had a save. We've pieced out and we've only gone this far on the east side, not overextending ourselves. We've managed to confederate Ungrim Iron Fist, doing our best not to antagonize the vampires, taking out the orcs here when we do have the time and resources, and of course just basically trying to hold up here. And here we can see Scrag the Slaughterer doing great things for us, attacking our enemies and of course making them think twice about attacking us. Working very, very well. As you expand in this direction, you'll get closer and closer to knocking off another legendary grudge, which is essentially just taking all of the starting territories and the ones around it. But the other one to keep your eye on is the Silver Pinnacle and building these sealed tombs. This will allow you to build a single building, which takes 10 turns to build. You will get attacked during its construction and have to defend it. So not a bad way to knock off a legendary grudge. If you have a spare army in the north corner, feel free to take it. Otherwise, you can get your 2 legendary grudges just doing what King Thorgrim does best. Tip number 9 is the character runes. You can get a Master Rune of Spite, which is an area of effect damage rune. Pretty handy. You get one from a quest, and you can get one here. Also, there's the runes of parrying. You can apply this to 3 separate heroes. Plus 8 melee defense is huge. You can then get Rune of Luck. So these are the first 2 I would get. The parrying and the luck, which again is another 10% on your characters, pretty handy stuff. The other rockstar items is the Scepter of Stone, incredible bombardment spell which can level an entire army, and the Iron Warden's Tankard. Well, I've gone on many times of how busted regeneration is. You can basically win a battle, just have it sitting on one character, he'll regenerate his life after the battle, and then after that, pass it to the next guy, and he can regenerate his life in the same method. Use it. Tip number 10 and the final point, and this is one that's really, really important, and if you can master this concept, you can master any really dicey situation the game might throw at you, and that is how to build up your frontiers efficiently without having just dead armies that are standing up there chewing through your upkeep. So we don't want too many armies, but also you could end up with a situation like this. We have lots of armies. Fortunately, most of them don't have very quality units, but we need armies that are strong enough to attack. Here we are with Thorgrim moving up in ambush stance. I know I can win these fights with him, otherwise I'd be a bit worried, but yeah, don't overestimate them. If they're just Skaven slaves and just a few clan rats, you should be able to handle them relatively well as long as you use good formations, and see the formations guide after this for Thorgrim. It will really help you out. But the question is, how do you build up these armies when you need them? Well, here we have our capital, and this is where we're going to hire all of our really powerful units. So we've hired all of our heroes, and now we're hiring a gyrocopter as well as our quarrelers. Right now it's basically the best encounter we have to these rather thick swarms of goblins and orcs. But moving down, as we move to this territory, it's less developed, but there is a barrack. So hire the good units here as they walk down, hire a couple of dwarf warriors, and then we should have close to at least a half stack here to possibly rendezvous. So use each province's recruitment capability and capacity, but you can increase this with the edict, allowing you to get +1 recruitment slot. When in doubt, always leave it on growth and bolster your trade. Empower the guilds is a really great right to have on every province, but if it's time to recruit, swap over, and next turn you'll gain an extra recruitment capacity. Hiring the core units from your capitals and primary territories and marching them towards hiring some basic infantry to fill those front ranks as you go. Merge these armies on the front line, and this will reduce your upkeep, because keep in mind you do pay an extra percentage upkeep for every lord you have active. So when desperate, use each province to build up units, merge them into a single army, then disband the lords. If you're in a pinch, hire grudge settler units and regiments of renown to reinforce those really dicey situations. As you can see, we've done that here. And of course, stack some amazing items, build them at the forge, and put them onto your heroes and your leaders. You will want an engineer to increase your mobility, as well as the damage of all of the ranged units in your army with triangulation, so prioritize that and boosting your movement. A Thane is a great line holder, and of course some area of effect damage with Rune of Wraith and Ruin. But save the Grudge Settler Hammerers for Thorgrim's army. At the end of the game, he starts with a Gyro Bomber, which is his best unit in the army, and it's basically your cavalry and your heavy hitter all in one. Replace your front line eventually with Hammerers. They don't have shields, but you're not fighting a lot of ranged firepower, so it's not much of an exposure. But Quarrelers are so effective against these thick, dense hordes that the Skaven and the Greenskins tend to field. Let's get the show on the road. If you're playing first time, go normal with no modifiers, but we're legendary very hard to show it's all possible. Turn 1, and as all good campaigns do, we need to join our hero and beat the very first army. Pressing R to increase our speed, let's fight it on the battlefield. And on the battlefield we have both of our quarrelers, and we're going to put our engineer in the middle so he can basically give them a bit of gunfire support. Up the front, of course, Thorgrim, we're going to label him number 1, our engineer number 2, and our quarrelers, put them as number 3. We want our elite infantry in the second line, and in the very front line, of course, our very trusty and sturdy dwarf warriors, and they should protect any of our missile units with their shields. Over here, let's place our gyrocopters, and who we got left here? Oh, we got some miners. We're probably going to disband them at some point, but remember the goal is here to make sure the units we care about also get the experience. So not only can we do this better than the auto resolve, we can do this providing the units we want to invest in with a bit more experience. So even just by delaying their archers, we've now divided their force up. So we'll break the units way quicker by focus firing them down. So let's focus fire 1 unit at a time. Oh, and getting shots down the length of the unit will do better. If you can try to aim a little bit better, lads. These guys have clearly been on the beers tonight. They're not aiming well. Cool, let's charge into them before they charge into us. Charge in, and let's move our elite infantry up the flanks to gain a charge. So this is a really effective tactic I find, is to just charge up at the enemy. So yes, we're going to take a few arrows here, but rather than have arrows litter on us the entire battle, we're going to charge our units up towards them, and this will allow us to break them much quicker. We can use our debuff for melee defense on their orc lord right there, and we should hopefully win that exchange. Alright, we took a few more casualties, but let's turn off guard mode with these Longbeards, because I want the Longbeards to hunt them down and get those kills. I want them to get the experience. We can recover the losses, but what I want is the experience on those units, because I really love having good elite level units. With the Dwarfs, they really do pay off. Let's restock. And this buff allowing you to pin your lord in place. Sure, he can't move, but getting that extra 20% physical resistance, very, very, very powerful. But now that the enemy are fleeing, this is where we build our casualties. Each unit taken down, that's running away, is a casualty. And there we go, I'm going greedy. I want the Oath Gold. I really should replenish my units, but I'm not going to. We need to do this next battle a little bit better. I was a bit distracted that first one. Let's wake up and deliver a good result for this next one. We'll get Inspiring Presence and then Route Marcher shortly after, because we can easily make this walking distance. Alright, so we took some damage in that first battle because we're going to demonstrate something else this time. So we have the same formation, but just keep in mind, a fully healed unit can't replenish over the end turn. So this time we're going to place our hammers up front because they're fresh. We'll definitely use these miners for a little bit of fodder, just to absorb some of their missile units that they come in, and we're going to do a quick trade here of at least putting our these guys don't have a shield, so we don't want them too far up front, but at least able to sub in. Now our engineer has more hit points than Thorgrim, but this time we're going to use his ability to increase the physical resistance on our engineer. So we're just showing what we do if we have a slightly more damaged army that we're going to heal over the end turn. So let's pull ourselves way further back here, and this time I'm going to show how to use the bomb. So this is going to be a nice slow-paced tutorial. I said this is one of the beginner tutorials, so each battle we're only going to learn one principle at a time. Cool. So the way you dodge arrows is 2 or 3 clicks to the left, 2 or 3 clicks to the right. Don't do it in fast forward like I am. I'm impatient. I'm a bad example. Don't be like Elvin. So watch the direction of the gyrocopters. Here we go. See, we don't want them to stand on the spot and pivot like that, or we want them to do that as little as possible. So that's at least slowed down those archers. They've been distracted, so they're going to miss a fair bit of the main battle. So that's a pretty nice start to the battle. Now let's move our bombers here. Now if you're really bad with micro, I want you to move your gyro bombers to this angle here so they can do what I call the strafing run. I'm going to show you how to really utilize your bombing. This is one of the most requested things that people wanted a video on. So nice and slow, we're going to cast entrenchment on our engineer, but let's first actually get him into the thick of battle. So charge in, charge in, charge in. Now, you see this, we're going to hold Alt to move our bombers over here, and that will lay them nice and cleanly on top of the enemy. Okay, cool. Now, let's fire taking out their range units first. I'm holding control as I tilt my formation to set up a charge. Cool. Okay, so let's improve and charge in to block the enemy. So we're sitting on top here. Now we might get some friendly fire. So we're going to hold alt, control, and rotate just to show how calm you can be about this. And now we're going to drop our bombs. And again. Cool, so that's one unit broken. Now let's move them slightly over this way. So this is how you can calmly and easily use your bombs. Don't waste them. Now normally in a more tense battle, I'm going to be using them much quicker and much more aggressively than what you see here. And we're just dropping those. Seeing the fallout of our offense. Now you could have won the first battle this easily, but I wouldn't have been able to demonstrate this. And you can even do this over archers. It's a little bit trickier, so I've held alt over the top of them. It's a bit trickier, but then bang! And yeah, they will have had enough. So that's how you use your gyro bombers. I'll demonstrate that again in other battles. And of course occupy. We don't want to damage or of course raise any of the settlements we're taking because we are rushing our first couple of provinces. That is Thorgrim done. Of course, upgrade your main building. Build the gem setter for some tradables, as well as 2 additional dwarf warriors. And as for Thorgrim, we want Route Marcher to improve his campaign movement, and that can also be bolstered by increased mobility on your Master Engineer, making your way through to Triangulation, which will give you plus 12 missile strength for the entire army. As for technology, I personally really like the plus 10 growth, so we're going to go for that first, and after that, just one turn to get 10% extra speed on infantry is well worth it. Diplomacy, the only real option you'll have is Zufbar, so get yourself a trade deal, an extra $1 if you can, and that is your first turn complete. Start of turn 2, and the damn greenskins will always confederate because beating leaders allows them to assimilate their holdings into their own terrain. So let's just focus on expanding ours, and we're going to attack Mount Squighorn, and let's do it on the battlefield. And on the battlefield, we're going to set up where we have the most terrain advantage. So if you can find a natural piece of terrain which will benefit you, take advantage of it, and we have one just right here. So let's set our range units up slightly behind that, and that is one of our flanks completely protected, making a invincible front line of hardened dwarf warriors like so. And then behind them in reserve is where we will place our elite infantry, and I'm going to keep them here, right? So the idea is in between there, if there's an engagement here or here, they can come in and bludgeon the target of my choice. We're going to keep some elite axe infantry in the similar spot to take advantage, and of course our engineer. Up front, we'll keep Thorgrim, but we're going to keep him slightly back, right? Because we want him to replenish those hit points. We got a bit carried away with him getting beat up in the opening turns, but that's okay. Okay, holding Alt and then also Control. Let's completely position our line to face theirs. And sending our gyro bombs up here, we can just keep sending them back and using the restock ability to replenish their ammunition. So if they want to play possum, that's fine with me. We can damage their most valuable units before they get close. The skirmish cav looking like a good target. We could do more damage if we were side on, but that's alright. Resisting the urge. So just keep in mind, by harassing their range units, we're preventing them from actually catching up with the rest of the army. So just be careful that you don't suffer a whole hail of arrows, because it'll knock their gyrocopters off balance, and once they do lose a bit of balance, they will really get stalled. And when they're stunned in the open, they're good as dead. So keep them moving. When in doubt, reserve safe in the back of your army is a perfectly safe place to keep them. Don't feel you have to stay busy the whole time. Okay, so using restock. So our Master Engineer is a good sniper. Let's give him the target of the enemy lord. If they're going to send a unit alone to attempt to flank the army, that's a great opportunity to use the mobility of our gyrocopters. Now if you're feeling clever, you can drop the occasional sneaky bomb like that, but it won't do quite as much damage as it would if you were getting over there. So this time we're going to get ourselves narrow. I don't want to get enveloped too badly here. Okay, so if we fly over the top just like this, and we drop, drop. Moving down, doing it again, drop, drop. They are hurting very badly now, and do it one more time over there. Oh, okay. So that means we don't pay attention to units. Okay, let's charge Thorgrim in. Make this guy indestructible. And of course, let's drop some bombs. Now we have 2 barracks, and you might think we'd want to keep the one in the minor settlement, but we'll eventually build one there. But for now, we want to get to our level 2, our tier 2 quarrelers as soon as possible, which will happen because this building is going to be upgraded in the main settlement first. So let's knock that building down, making room for some economy. And as you can see here, because we spread the damage around our units, they're all healing up rather nicely. So let's get the grudge against the foul. Of course, I mean, we're playing as Thorgrim Grudgebearer. We have to get this. This gives us a bonus against greenskins, ogres, and skaven. So what more could you ask? +5 melee attack with all units. Amazing. Now, for any other Dwarf Lord, I would always go at least 1 point in Axe Lord. This will benefit not only your Dwarf Warriors, giving them another +4 melee attack and melee defense. 2 points will go very, very far to give you +4 attack and defense, but more importantly, this also benefits your Grudge Settler units, and one of the really great Grudge Settler units, of course, is the Longbeard with great weapons. So I really, really do like this unit. That +4 will get it up to 42 melee defense. For a two-handed weapon, that is just very, very good at the point you get them. However, I'm breaking the rules here because as Thorgrim, I do like to play him differently. He is going to go 3 points in elite infantry. So normally this is an auto include, but I want to go all out with elite infantry and guns. So let's go 1 point in guns because, well, we're going to have more of those sooner than later. And let's get with our master engineer, break open the cask to get another use of restock and a point in triangulation to improve the missile damage of the entire army, hiring another 2 Dwarf Warriors. And for the edict, in the early turns, we're going to use the +1 recruitment capacity to build up our army and then switch over to growth when we're ready. But for now, let's get that +1 recruitment capacity, and we need another Lord. If you have the DLC, the Demon Slayer will be the best in this instance because it won't break and will fight to the bitter end bravely. Otherwise, a Rune Lord is obviously a good choice because as long as you get enough points to get Rune of Wraith and Ruin, you can do some nice area of effect. And failing that, don't overlook the hardiness of a typical Dwarf Lord. They're basically indestructible, so all great choices. We're going to go the Slayer Lord here because why not? And who's got the best expert charge defense? I think I'll take that. Cool. And the bloody spears are destroyed. They are no more, so it's time to take the fight to Skarsnik himself and eliminate him in the next few turns. So, double click on him first. Is he friends or at enemies with anyone? So, we don't know this faction. We can't join them and gain a bit of profit from doing so. So, we're just going to have to declare war on Skarsnik the old-fashioned way. And on the battlefield, we're just going to basically set up on the top of the hill. I don't want to have to deal with any slopes. It gets harder to hit units, and you guys just have a harder time targeting when the ground isn't quite even. So let's make their job nice and easy. Hotkey these archers 4 and spread ourselves out. Any damaged units we want at the back so they can replenish from this battle. We're going to keep our lords and heroes back this time because they won't replenish. Aiming to do as much damage as we can with our gyrocopters. Just remember, when you do fire with your gyrocopters, they have suppress, so they will slow the movement of whatever they hit. Okay, so doing a nice, careful, gentle bombing run. And there we go, only 25 casualties, going to show if you use your gyrocopters and bombers, you can really avoid a lot of damage. Now let's put another point into our Thunderers and more importantly Quarrelers, give them a bit of extra damage as well as the ammunition boost. And here we can hire 2 more miners. We're about to fight Skarsnik in all his glory. It's a relatively big battle, but we can easily do it. Move your new lord just up to the border because we want to keep him there so he can hire 3 units thanks to the edict, giving us another +1 recruitment slot. Mount Squighorn can be upgraded with a trinket maker, boosting your income, a far better use for that slot. Check your diplomacy, ensure there's no options. And here we are, right on time. Skarsnik with a very, very vicious army of nasty skulkers. Definitely a very losable battle, but we'll win it today. And on the battlefield, there's not a lot of great places to stand here, so we're going to choose the one which covers our flank the best. We have this nice ledge of the cliff there, and that is what we're going to use as the edge of our formation. There's also seems to be this impassable thing here. Okay, so this whole terrain is deceptively impassable, which I guess is going to help us if nothing else. Cool. We have these mostly dead garrison units, and we're going to keep them back here in reserve. Oh man, well I guess they're marking the back line. They really are the back line. So placing grudge settler units in the second rank, sparsely placed dwarf warriors, gyro bomber up the front with Thorgrim and the engineer standing by. I will keep the miners in reserve, so if they do countercharge us, we've got some extra reinforcements there. Keep ourselves in relatively close so our range units can support wherever they attack. As soon as the archer fire starts to come, that's your cue to get moving. Now this will be won by your gyro bombers, okay? So you need all of them to be alive and healthy. Cool. Control M to hire all of your missile units, and let's attack and debuff its melee attack, sending our units in. Hammerers, get in there. Okay, we're going to use our bombs on these archers because they're definitely ticking us off. Good. And then we're going to reinforce the rest. So hopefully all of our lines are going to hold there. Beautiful. Okay, that spider looks basically cooked. Good, spider down. Now let's start shooting to the flanks of these units. Holding alt, we're going to do a nice wide line. Let's move here. So holding shift and pressing 1 will drop your bombs for you, just like that. Cool. So we can move ourselves down. Take your time. And drop. I think I'll actually take the gold because I'm greedy like that. Turn 4, and the victory gave us the defeat trait against Skarsnik, 20% ambush success and defense chance. So good in these mountainous regions, particularly because we can do our own ambushing and Skaven are not too far away. Being in the garrison means we still manage to replenish over the end turn, so really great stuff. We can now add one more point to our Thunderers, well, in other words, our Quarrelers, just for now, and the next points, hopefully, in the coming turns, we'll get an Age of Reckoning, and we can cash that in for some more Grudge Settler units. Now, let's move our second Lord up to pass the units back to Thorgrim. Upgrade the barracks to Tier 2, which will allow us to build Quarrelers, and upgrade the Gem Setter to Tier 2. We're going to build an armory to get a runesmith on the battlefield, as well as a trinket maker here as well.
Demon Slayer.
So we're going to move our Demon Slayer up to reinforce this battle. So move him to the corner. We can also use increased mobility on our engineer and triangulation as well. So now he can move the army further and make everyone shoot a little bit better. And now let's attack the remainder of Skarsnik's old army. Oh, he decided to stand and fight. Control A, hold Alt, and let's move forward so we can volley downhill. Take advantage of this choke point. And that was certainly better than the auto resolve would have given us. We can bolster our numbers even more for the upcoming battles or get a little bit more gold. Now we've got a number of fights to do, so let's get some replenishment. So I wasn't meant to actually pass those infantry back. Be the newest guys, right? So I shouldn't have passed those new guys over because it takes away from Thorgrim's movement. Let's move back this way. And I'm going to actually auto-resolve because this will completely eliminate the settlement garrison, meaning we don't have to fight it again. Yeah, let's take some Oath Gold. And this will allow you to take World's Edge Archway by turn 4. Very nice. So we're going to hire 2 more miners just to keep our numbers high. We can upgrade our gem mine for a bit more cash. At level 8, Thorgrim gets a number of really great skills, and he can get all three of them, but the one I want to prioritize now is a passive ability, meaning everyone around him in a 35 meter radius gains +5 melee defense, +5% missile resistance. Very useful given that he's going to be on the front line. Turn 5 and our technology is complete, another +10 growth, certainly all adds up, and now we're going to get +10% speed. So, moving ourselves up, let's move, say, about there, in ambush stance, allowing 25% of our movement still to go. So either way, I know we can take this with what we've got. Alright, so now we're going to place all of our dwarf warriors in Thorgrim's army. Cool. Either way, we'll be able to attack them next turn. If not, they might be baited by this ambush and we'll be able to destroy their army. So it's kind of win-win. And we're going to upgrade the Pillars of Grungi so we can get yet another trinket maker. Oh, and here we go. We managed to land the ambush, people. Now the ambush always gives you a really great advantage. Quite happy just to take the auto resolve. I mean, there we go, that's a pretty good result. Whilst that is a lot of gold, we've got a pretty big fight ahead of us, so I think we'll take that replenishment, boost up our numbers. Turn 6, that ambush worked great. Either way, they'll probably have at least one army left. They'll go for him anyway. You might not get the ambush. You can easily beat that army, and this gives you a clear run towards their last remaining cap. I'm planning ahead. I want to get a few hammers to make my front line, so we're going to put some points in those. And they have one army standing at the front. If they choose to not run away, we can pull out the garrison. So let's move up with our reinforcing army first, just outside the range, and we'll make sure you leave enough rooms for a second army to pass through the gap there. You don't want to obstruct your own armies. Oh my god, okay, cool, so we can auto-resolve this. There's no point taking the replenishment because we've cleared the garrison, which means we don't need to fight to take Mount Gunbad, occupying it on turn 6 and gaining that beautiful replenishment from being inside the garrison. And that is Crooked Moon destroyed on turn 6, as promised. You should now be in contact with Thorgrim, and let's get that trade going.
You are welcome, mate.
We of course want him to be strong. Him being strong will make us strong in the long term. Check other diplomatic options. And you should have a good amount of gold and a good amount of income. Mount Gunbad is an excellent location with some really great buildings which will bolster your tradables and your income. So Blightstone Mine, very good, and this is of course a great place to build a deeps if you so choose. In a new settlement, use the Growth Edict and reducing your construction costs by 10%. So let's combine a couple of those miners that are harmed, replace them with another one that's still a bit harmed, and then collapse this second army. We don't need it just yet, and we will end up running Thorgrim Grudgebearer down here to get some of these new units. Let's reduce our recruitment by 10%. Turn 7, and the map should look much more pleasant now with Thorgrim having your flank and fully completing his very first province as well with Grand Peaks, and this gives you some pretty clear ideas on what to do. Well, we do have some weak greenskins that could underway, but they're usually at war with the Chaos Dwarfs. We do have the most sneaky of Skaven here. We have Clan Rictus as well as Clan Moors, and Tretch is very likely to underway here and gut these new provinces, so that is by far the biggest risk we have. So you might think, let's get some walls on this settlement ASAP, and to that I still say no, upgrade the capital first. It's nearly always the best decision because if they break through, that will at least be the point that stops them. So we're not going to upgrade that, but we will force march Thorgrim all the way back down because we want to hire a few more new units, and those will be 2 heroes as well as some quarrelers. And because we have new units coming in, we can get rid of these old units knowing that we're about to replace them. I still don't want to take away all my units just in case we get backdoored by Clan Rictus, and we can get an idea of what they might have by checking the balance of power. Well, Clan Rictus have 3 settlements there, and we only have to journey down here and we'll discover Clan Moors and just what they might have in store. But all this can get confederated very quickly by Wurzag, so do not think you're safer than you are. We need to build up some solid defenses and some solid walls, so let's also upgrade this to tier 2. Turn 8, we're moving down, and since we haven't been attacked by Tretch Craventail yet, he's got a lot of balance of power, so he could send an army up to us relatively quickly. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's move into our friendly terrain here. At least right here, we could quickly react 4 quarrelers, and also bring in our brand new troops, and also hire our 2 heroes. Hire the 2 that you think do the best for you. Defensive stats, of course, are best on the Thane, and the Runesmith, same again. Oh, you can't argue with that. Ancestral blood is usually just as glorious as it sounds, and that's what we're getting. Since we need to make room for these 2 new heroes, we can kick out 2 units of Dwarf Warriors, and that is looking like a pretty damn good army for turn 8 if I don't say so myself. Most of all, we can now switch over to the Growth Edict, saving some money on construction. Oh, god damn it, I should have known this would happen. Okay, I'm letting you guys know, this is basically guaranteed to happen. He's going to attack there. You're going to end turn, he's going to attack there. Turn 9, and we need to react, so let's move our new warriors into our army. That's the Thane as well as the Runesmith. We're going to actually go force march here. I really don't think there's going to be anyone just there, and if there is, I know we can win that. I'm feeling pretty bold. We can build another trinket maker right here. Turn 10, once you have 200 Oath Gold, you can unlock the Forge. We can upgrade another main building, and we're going to pick this one in here for obvious reasons. It's not on the edge and in immediate danger of being destroyed. So first up, we can move up in ambush stance. Now let's have a look. We got 80%. Let's do this, and if we can take Mount Silverspear in the next couple turns, we are looking really strong. So we can move. Let's just scout out a tiny bit further.
It is time.
It's looking relatively safe. I'm feeling pretty ballsy, so I'm going to do a quest battle. And it'll make everything just hit a little bit harder and everything a little bit cheaper with him. Okay, so I do know there's one over here, so we have to destroy 4 shamans and 1 will begin on that side. So let's start over this side and see what we can do. Now, usually you'll notice I don't bait a lot of regular ammunition out, but when it comes to artillery, you absolutely need to.
Wronged us. For the ancestors, range far, range fast.
These
Strike out!
oh no.
I charge!
Cool.
The clans do not
Okay, so even though that they're broken, we want to keep shooting these guys until they shatter. We want them never to come back. Alright, so if you dodge around the enemy correctly, you should be able to do that without losing 3/4 of your best unit like I just did. I'm going to be greedy and take the Oath Gold. I want the items. Well, with that in mind, we're going to finish our turn right there. And we've unlocked Ancient's Bloodline, his own personal tree, giving us another high decree so we can start dropping some deeps. So we're going to get the Rune of Parrying, so this will give 3 particular heroes, any that we choose, and we can rotate them, plus 8 melee defense. So let's build these trinket makers, get a bit of extra cash, as well as some reduced construction. Turn 11, and obviously this could go one or two ways. This is on legendary, so we did get attacked by Tretch, and I don't know if that's going to happen on normal, but it's something to be prepared for. If he's a potato here, then you really could focus on going south, but the further you go south, the more nasty people you're going to discover down here. So honestly, neutralizing Tretch and either making Mount Silverspear or the World's Edge Archway as the edges of your kingdom, it's not a bad idea in the short term, or at least getting some walls up on this and making this quite defensible. With Thorgrim, let's move up to the very edge of our territory and hop into ambush stance. So next turn we should be able to hit that. Now as for our secondary province, we could increase our gold mine to level 2, and we will do that. Let's level up the World's Edge Archway, and now we're 2 turns away from being able to afford the deeps. So until then, we're going to build another growth building here, level up our trinket maker, turn 12, and next turn we will gain another population surplus point. So we need to make room for the deeps. Let's knock down this armory, we'll no longer need it. And in Mount Gumbad, we're going to build this growth building, but only temporarily, just for a few turns to give us, get us this up to the tier 3, because we can place another deeps building in there. Okay, so let's attack Mount Silverspear. Oh, that left it completely undefended. We can auto-resolve that quite easily, and we will occupy. Oh, we've just managed to unlock this to get an extra runesmith. That's pretty damn cool. I can't say no to that. And just before we knock down the building, we can build ourselves one more runesmith. That is super exciting. Great way to leave the ability. It does hurt the upkeep a bit, but it's absolutely worth it. Let's get Rune of Wraith and Ruin. Turn 13, technology finished. Let's just double down on those quarrelers. They're dealing a lot of damage for us. Oof, that'd give us a nice buff to our Age of Reckoning. So you know what? We're gonna do it, guys. And on the battlefield, nothing you haven't seen before. We've got basically 2 almost hollow diamonds, not quite. We're rocking a line of 4 dwarf warriors, a couple of dwarfs in the middle there to catch them, and then of course our elite infantry on the flanks to charge in and then just bowl the enemy over. And we'll have up the very front our gyro bombers. Okay. Got a nice big blob here. Let's use Rune of Wraith and Ruin. Wonderful. Okay, these giants are a bit of a concern, so let's now focus them down. Thorgrim handsomely winning his duel. Fantastic. Cool. Here we go. Let's take the gold because I'm greedy, and we didn't get much replenishment anyway, so that's alright. Putting ourselves inside the settlement to gain the most replenishment. I mean, we could risk getting up, but if we look at the balance of power, they've got some serious So we have the situation where our primary capital province, we could increase it to tier 3, or we could build a deeps building. Now, which one should we do? Well, that one's up to you, but there's a few advantages of doing each. But here's the other thing, we now have a second province, which could almost be our primary province. If we build another growth building just to fast track this, we could get this to tier 3 in just another couple of turns. It's only going to be a couple of turns behind our primary capital province. So, with that in mind, in Karaz-Karak, we're going to build the deeps. I mean, look, there we go. 70% ambush success chance. We can live with that. And sitting in ambush stance there, we'll be able to fall back should anyone get too close. How many armies does he have? He has a lot of armies, and they're all pointed our direction, so that is a bit of a risk, but it's one I think we can take. Oh damn. 1, 2, 3, I think 4 armies. Alright, Thorgrim, let's show him what you made of. Oh man, we're enveloped, but this map could be kind to us. Well, the only way we're not going to get pincered is by falling back to this position here. I would have loved to have bottlenecked them through there, but we're not going to be able to do that. Alright. This is where these big area of effect spells are going to have to come in handy. Alright, this is going to be one hell of a bombing run.
For the High King! Understood, Lord! Go! And...
Come on. Cool, let's let him move again. Alright, cool.
For the ancestor gods! Anu! And... Understood, Lord! Yes, yes! Nothing can stop us! I'll get my tools! Shoot the wyverns! Blow through! For the ancestors! For the ancestors!
Oh, thank God, finally. Turn 14, and we beat 4 armies with 1. That feels pretty good for the ego, doesn't it? This is really powerful. 20% extra movement after winning a battle. We'll be able to daisy chain between all of these enemy armies and hopefully wipe them all out. The balance of power is definitely going to be below ours if we can wipe all of these armies. So I'd say Tretch has his main army kicking around somewhere else, and that's about it. So we don't have much other choice other than to wipe what's left of these armies. Now this is in forced march, so he can't run, so this guy will be pulled into the engagement, allowing us to wipe him out. So easy choice there.
Keep ready yet.
Can't say no to the Xbox. Right, let's finish off another army. We only lost 18 troops. Well, that's pretty damn nice. Not too much oath gold there. Good amount of replenishment. Yeah, right, I'll take the replenishment. Cool.
Onward!
And let's have a look at our underway. What can we do down here? To dig a little bit further, but it's absolutely worth doing. In the deeps, underneath our main province, we just really can't say no to the Underdeep mine. Really great, gives us lots of tradables, we'll get very rich, and a few more defensive bonuses to help defend the province. Turn 15, let's scout out with this extra rune priest that we have. Cool. No one there. They didn't spot my army, so that's fantastic news. We do have a capital where they can draw upon a lot of reinforcements.
Bring them! Now war on them!
Occupy. Done.
The High King acts!
Quite fortunate we're able to hire more quarrelers. Yeah. So it's going to go growth, trinket maker, just boosting the growth and lowering our construction cost. Let's just go for 10 ward save on all of our characters. Go black on him and Iron Smith as well. Now we could build a gate here, and I'm somewhat tempted to. Turn 15, thanks to stacking a lot of his quests, we got the Age of Reckoning army, and we are in the position to do some serious Age of Reckoning. So we are going to enter a new Age of Reckoning. Love it. Bang. So what can we get in Thorgrim's army? So we'll mix these units over. Cool.
Send me to vengeance!
Nice. We now have a Grudge Settler army itself, and that will easily be able to punish Tretch and take him out. So I would say we'll get this main army to consolidate this hold here, this secondary army to gut through this wing here, and we now have one of their armies coming to attack a capital, but that's okay. It is a very, very well defended fortification, so we can hire ourselves another lord, and of course he can now hire Grudge Settler units and punish the enemy, and that is how you do it, guys. So, and we can go one further, even still, we have one more quest item we can get with Thorgrim. You can attack that settlement there. You'll gain 20% extra movement if you didn't actually take it, and then you can do his quest battle and attack some more. So this is how you do it. Skarsnik dead on turn 6. Get yourself at least 2, if not working towards your 3rd territory. You will be attacked on this side, but hopefully this will give you some good ideas. I mean, it's only turn 16 and we've got the deeps underway. Going to give us a bunch of new tradables and already get our capital up to tier 3, and we have our secondary, which is basically, we could do it, we just don't have the money to do it. So next turn we'll be able to afford that and start pumping out some Thunderers, Iron Drakes, and whatever else you'd like in between. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out the channel, please. Consider liking and subbing, and I'll see you next time.